Hello, Mia, do you have some inspirational money tunes for us to start this with?
I do.
I love that. I don't know if you're playing them, but I can't hear them, but I know that they're coming from your heart. So I feel really good about that. Well, if the money tune gods are not going to cooperate, I'm just going to dive in and welcome us to the show because we have a lot to go through. And it's funny, considering the time of year it is all about money today. So I'm Britany Leach Johnson. I'm the Director of Sales at Lush Life Productions. And this class is the last in the Full Hands In, Full Hands Out 2022 series, curated by Lush Life and sponsored by Brown Forman. Today's class is Finances on the Rocks, Straight Up Money Matters for Hospitality Professionals. In the first session of this series, Jordan Zimmerman and Miranda Breedlove shared interview insight to help you land your next role. And in the second, Sierra Pressler taught us how to negotiate like a pro. So let's say you've landed the job or you've negotiated that contract. What now? Holistic mindset and financial strategist Mia Love is here to guide us through risk assessment, realistic goals, and resources. She's going to help us assess what money means to each of us and how that influences our relationship with finances. And she's also going to share some tools to help us be successful in paying ourselves first with a holistic approach. But just like with money, mindful choices around beverage alcohol can also pay huge dividends. This series is brought to us by Brown Forman, who launched their Pause campaign at Tales of the Cocktail in New Orleans this summer. Brown Forman's Pause campaign is about empowering hospitality's finest to take a moment to reflect on what the next step should be for them, what's best for them. Sometimes that's a well-crafted cocktail sipped in good company, and other times that's a low or no alcohol option to nourish the mind and the body. So before we get into all of this money magic with Mia, check out this short video introduction to the Pause campaign, as its goals are directly aligned with that of Full Hands In, Full Hands Out programming, which are creating a more inclusive and sustainable hospitality industry. Cut to video.
This week, Brown Forman is at the 20th anniversary of Tales of the Cocktail. We have come to put on different events for bartenders, different seminars for bartenders, and we've also come as a responsibility organization to speak to bartenders about how they can pause and really choose what's best for them.
We've seen so much more in the ways of safe bar trainings. We've seen so much more in the ways of making sure that events have responsibility measures built in.
Alcohol-free options at the bar, ensuring that there's plenty of access to food, water, making sure that safe rides are accessible.
There's a desire to create these spaces. There's a desire to learn about how to have lower ABV cocktails integrated into your menu.
The second that they appear on a menu the same way other drinks do, I think it just really kind of like helps cement and familiarize these efforts for a lot more people.
And for a lot of reasons, it's a much better business case. The person who is taking that pause is more likely to buy a high-end spirit like a Brown Forman product versus a low-end spirit.
And I think from like the bartender standpoint, it is really a show of talent if they can create a no-proof drink that isn't just kind of like citrus or soda-based.
So having an interesting, well-crafted, alcohol-free cocktail available for people, they can still seamlessly enjoy the experience.
We're in kind of this interesting place with consumers where we're seeing more and more people say, well, I want to drink something that's better for me. I'd rather drink something that has a little less alcohol. I'm trying to take care of myself.
We're talking about mental health a lot more. We're talking about just the choice to not have to drink tonight. You can be sober curious, you can be sober, you can be just choosing not to drink at this moment.
And I think Brown Forman has taken a lead in this, in that helping people drink responsibly means you'll develop a better clientele and more faithful guest.
So it's a net positive for all of us, for the marketers, for the sales teams, for the bartenders. Everybody wins when we treat folks the right way.
Well, I right now especially love an alcohol-free cocktail. I still have a little while to go before we have our newest addition to the family, and I'm allowed to sample all of the alcoholic beverages again. So thanks to Brown Forman for putting so much emphasis on making alcohol-free drinking just as important at your events and at the bars that you support as alcohol included drinking. And speaking of drinking, Mia, I know this time of year is really busy for bars and bartenders. And so I feel like hopefully there's a lot of money coming in as people are celebrating those end of year holidays, but it kind of seems like around this time of year, it's easy come, easy go. Every time money comes in, it's going right back out. And you're here today to kind of help us set the foundation for how we can treat ourselves well and make sure that we are taking care of ourselves when we're out there, we're making money, and hopefully get to the point where one day we can just put our feet up and be the ones enjoying the cocktail. So I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you have this really beautiful presentation you put together, but I am definitely here. There's a little personality test that is a part of the curriculum, and I'm definitely here to be critiqued by no one I would love to be read to filth by more than you. So I'm ready whenever you are for that portion of the programming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Britany. Thank you to Tales of the Cocktail Foundation. This is always awesome. And it was funny to me when I was watching that video, because I was immediately transported back to like seeing Amy, seeing Lindsay, seeing Eric, seeing Leah, who I met on an earlier piece. I mean, it was just so cool. And it took me back to when we were at Tales earlier this year. So I just love it, and just love the fact that we get to partner on these types of things. Like you said, this time of year is easy come, easy go. When you're in the industry, you're in the bars, and it's like buyout season. So you're making a ton of money, but then you walk out and there's the holidays there. So then you're spending money. And so my gift to all of you is that personality assessment that you talked about. So I'm going to just jump into the deck so that we can, be respectful of everybody's time, but also share this amazing information. So what we are talking about is we are talking about our, and I just lost my first slide. There we go. Finances on the rocks. Straight up money matters for hospitality professionals. Obviously, finance. If you've ever attended any of the things that I talk about in the past, I talk a lot about credit. We're going to really focus on finances because this is the holiday season. So on the rocks, it's how a lot of us like our drinks. We like them straight up, a ton of different ways, but this is going to be straight up money matters for hospitality professionals. So to get you through that, again, like I said, I'm giving you a gift. This is something that you can bring to your holiday gatherings. It doesn't take a lot to get into it, but it really lets folks know how you work together, right? Britany revealed to me earlier that she is a red, not surprised at all, because she keeps us on task. And you can't imagine how many emails and texts that she sends me like, hey, can I get your PowerPoint? Like, I know it's going to be amazing, but I need the information. And so what Britany brings to the table, like so many others, is moving from point A to point B, getting things done. Her gifts are vision, leadership, responsible, decisive, practical, proactive, and assertive. And what that means is that when you get that second text from Britany, you better make sure that you get on it, because she's coming from her point A to your point B to get what she asked you for, right?
But I hope Josh Davis is watching and he heard that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, but what does that mean in the world of money? So I'm getting, like I said, please feel free to share this link with your friends and family members. For those of you that are on, if you want to drop your colors in the chat, you're more than welcome to do that. But again, no need to share. I'm going to go through what each one of the colors mean very quickly and how that relates to your relationship with money. So red, remember, they're motivated by power. And so what that means is that they have the power when they have the money. Cash is king, credit is power. All those things move together in this space. But what that really means is that our red folks are going to be responsible for what they have put in their basket or their virtual cart when they're shopping, right? They are going to be decisive and maybe do some engineering when they get to the counter and maybe pop a couple things out that they don't need, or they may pop a couple extra things in on that little aisle that you see as you get to the front. Britany, you don't have to nod. Maybe it's not you, maybe it's some other red like me. But we're also proactive in that we are constantly keeping that cart, whether you're an Amazon shopper or something else, you constantly keep things in the cart, and that's your proactivity. And then assertive enough to tell someone else, hey, look, when I was out shopping, I bought this for you, now give me my money back. Now that works to our advantage when it works to our advantage, but all of that putting stuff in the cart and waiting for folks to pay you back could also get you on the wrong side of finance if you're not with someone that deals with it the same way that you deal with it. And then that takes us to our blue. The blues are intimacy driven, they're do-gooders. And so what they're gonna do is, because they love creating quality relationships, they love having purposes, that's what drives these folks. They love gifts. Their acts of service is generally their love language. They're super loyal, sincere, and thoughtful. What does that mean for our blues? When we're all planning to go somewhere, guess what the blues are going to do? They're going to go, I'm going to put the Airbnb on my card and I'll collect everybody's money later, because they are loyal, right? They're service driven, they're thoughtful. They want to make sure that everybody has a great time. So they're like, yeah, I'll make sure I take care of it. Then guess what? They're chasing everybody down to get the money back to pay for the Airbnb that they put on their card, or they're waiting for that Venmo to come through, right? The A's are like, here, this is taking too long. I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to just Apple Pay you right now. The blues are still trying to track everybody else down to get their money back. And then that takes us to the white. The white are the peacekeepers. They love to stay calm. They want to make sure that everybody's having a good time and bringing balance in. They bring clarity, tolerance, and are generally kind and adaptable. Guess what the whites are going to do when they get to this event? They're going to have matching cocktail cups for everybody. They're going to go to the blue and say, hey, when you're collecting your money, do you mind? Because they don't really want to ask for the money. So they're going to go, can you collect my $12 per person from the cup? And the red's going to be like, look, here's 15. I don't have change. I'll get it back from you later. But they're going to kind of just soft you around it. So how our whites get in trouble is because they don't necessarily want to be the ones coming forward asking for it. So they're depending on other people. Definitely the folks that you want to have in the crew, but I just want to make these correlations for you so you understand how many will and won't work for you. And then the yellows are the fun lovers. The yellows, like, they love to live in the moment. They're great with gifts of enthusiasm and optimism. They're the one pumping everybody up, saying, when we get there, we're going to do this. And we should also go to this concert. I found out that this thing is happening here. We can also have great gifts. And they're going to buy everything that you could possibly need for the trip and not know how they're going to get paid back for it. But they're going to roll in with a big bag and say, hey, here's all this stuff for everybody. Let's have a great time. And then they're going to go to the red and go, oh my gosh, this is costing a lot. And the red's going to go, all right, listen, everybody needs to start paying folks back. We're going to list all of our Venmos. We're going to put them on a chalkboard next to the front door. Make sure before you leave, everybody gets their money back. I don't know if this sounds familiar to you, but this is how a lot of our trips go. So, sounding familiar?
We have some yellows and blues in the chat too. So you can always call Mia or I, and we will round up whoever owes you money and be like, here's the payment plan, because we need to get this taken care of.
Absolutely. And you can, like Jada said, she's two colors. She's blue with a bit of yellow. So I am actually red with a bit of yellow. So I'm like, I'm going to make sure we have fun. I'm going to make sure we get from point A to point B, but I also want to make sure that everything is organized. So yes, you can definitely straddle two colors. A lot of folks do, but that's just the way that this works. And it's a ton of fun. So like I said, there are a lot of different personality assessments, but this is one that I really enjoy. So if you want to give a free gift to your friends and family over the holidays and solve the Rubik's Cube of why why the folks in your life are so different, this is a really fun and easy way to do that. So have a lot more fun with that. If you have more follow-up questions, I'm going to reference it more throughout this talk, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that that's the direction I'm going. And then if I could advance my slide, that would be awesome. Okay, so irregular income. Let's get this straight, right? This is straight, no chaser. Listen, when you're in the hospitality industry, a lot of times you're not going to have the same income every month. So let's talk about what that looks like. Best way that you want to do this is you want to start low rather than an average. Why? Because if you start low, then you don't really have to adjust any other way but up. If you start high, then that generally leads to a bitter end, like an unbalanced cocktail. Nobody wants that. We want your budget to be balanced. We want you to have a really good starting point. So once you find that starting point, or how you find it is looking back at your past pay stubs, looking back at your direct deposits, looking back at all of your revenue streams, and then go with the last few months, like the lowest point of your last few months, because that's where you're going to find your best value. Now, if this is your first time doing this, no big deal. A lot of folks are learning. We're building these planes while we're flying them, and it's completely fine for you to do that. But look at your lowest month and then put that in as your income. And then I'm going to show you how to build the budget as we go forward. Okay, so with any great cocktail, with any great meal, you have a recipe, right? So your recipe for success is going to include your essential ingredients, your food or your shelter, your utilities, your transportation. Now, your transportation, this could be a time where you have your own vehicle, you could be doing Ubers or Lyfts, or you could be using public transportation. So think about all those different things when we talk about transportation. Your food is going to be, your basic ingredients that you need to be able to sustain yourself for the month, and then utilities are just that. But you want to budget all of your expenses. Okay. So start with the basics, and then there's going to be the things that we call our fixed expenses, like your car insurance doesn't generally fluctuate unless you're renewing the policy, and you always want to negotiate on that. And then any other standing debt payments that you have, like student loans or things like that. And then if you have childcare insurances, those are your fixed expenses, but you have to list everything. Those are going to be your essentials. And then you've got your miscellaneous expenses. So these are like your gym memberships and going out to restaurants and all the streaming services that we have, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Peacock, all these different things. And we're going to talk about ways to save on those, but you have to list them in your budget. You don't want to leave anything out. And I know sometimes it's a little painful when you start writing them down, especially for more of our blues and our whites, because they're going to go, it's going to be a little bit different. The reds are going to take it to task. And as you can see, I even have a red pen. That's how much of a red I am. So, and my notes are in red. They're going to list it all. As painful as it is, go, oh my gosh, I'm paying for 10 different streaming services. It's fine. The blues are going to take a pause and go, okay, wait, let me just verify that this is here. And so it works for each person. Your yellows are going to go through and look at it, and they're probably going to add some more while they're going through this exercise and go, oh, since this is a wish list, I can put all these other things on here, which is fine too. But remember, if you have an irregular income, you may not be able to enjoy all those things every month. So there may be times where you have to take a pause on the Ulta subscription box or cancel one of the memberships, or even better, like I have YouTube TV and I have 4 other family members on it because YouTube TV offers a family plan. That's a discussion we had at one point. So now I'm the one that's paying the $64 a month. Now, I'm a red, so I am going to make sure that everybody Venmos me their share of that, but I'm the one that's paying for it, right? So you got to just make sure that you're taking advantage of things that allow you to stay within your budget. But if there are things that you need to cut out because your income may have changed, maybe in December, we're having a ton of buyouts, but then January is dry January, right? So maybe your income's in a dip. So you're going to want to use that lower month to make your budget, but you're going to want to list all of your expenses as we build on that. Now, my favorite type of budget is a zero-based budget. So I want to show you how to subtract your expenses from your income. And if you have any questions as we go through this, you can certainly ask them now, but we'll also have time at the end because I really want you to grasp this concept of zero-based budgets. This is where every single dollar that you have has a job, right? So this is the best way when you're just starting out with budgeting, or if you need to reset on your budgeting, or you're trying to save for something big. You want to tell every single dollar where to go, because if you don't tell it where to go, it's going to find some place to go. And a lot of times it's not where we intended it to go. So just make sure that that mindless spending is curbed by assigning every single dollar that you have. Now, sometimes it doesn't always add up. So say that you subtract your expenses from your income and you have more month at the end of your money, right? That's not the way that we want it to go. But we want to make sure that when you have extra money that you give yourself some high fives. So basically that's just giving yourself an applause. And that's where you're still going to, if you have extra money left over, you still want to put that money to work. Say you end up with an extra $50 that month. You want to make sure that that either goes to savings or you make sure that it goes to paying off something, but every single dollar that you have has to have a place to live. Now, if you end up with a negative number, that's okay too, because you're budgeting low. So your numbers may be a little bit off. You may have to cut out some of those extras until you get out of that minus and get base back to that zero. Okay. So this is, like I said, you're going to continue to adjust this, but you want to make sure that every single dollar has a job. Now we're going to get tracking on this stuff, right? When you spend money on something, you subtract it from that budget line item. So if your rent or your mortgage is $1,200 and you've paid that, you're going to zero that out because you've paid that. If you live in a situation where your rent or mortgage may fluctuate and you said it was $500, but someone new came to stay there, so for that month it was only $3, you want to take that extra $200 and give that $200 a job. If there's something that you needed to do, you move it over to that. Or if there's something that you didn't need it for, you're going to move it to savings. But don't just have it hanging out there, because we know what happens when there's extra money. It finds a place to go, even if that's not where you intended it to go. That's where those extra things get put into the basket, right? When you make money, you're going to add that to your planned income. And this is really, really important if you're dealing with an irregular income, because you have to make sure that you're tracking it. We don't want to go with like, oh, I think I made around $2,000 last month. You want to really pay attention to it and really be true with those numbers, because that's going to let you know if you've made exactly as much as you planned or not, and if you need to go back and make some adjustments to your budget. Now, budgeting is just planning where the money will go. I know that it's a bad word and people don't like to hear it, but it really is truly helpful. You can do this on pen and paper, which is what I love to do, because the holistic side of me knows that writing stuff down opens up a portal, and we'll talk more about that later. But some people love to use apps. There's Mint app. A lot of the banks come with apps now. So just make sure that you're tracking it, because tracking expenses holds you accountable to yourself. And accountability partners are a really good thing to do. My sister and I talk a lot about expenses and what we're spending. And she's like, oh, I've already spent my hair budget for the month. I've already spent my grooming budget, or whatever it is. Or most of the time she's telling me she's already spent her entertainment budget. And that's why she says she's not going somewhere with me, because that line item is already gone. And so you have to be honest about that stuff. And maybe we'll shift it and go, okay, well, since we're not going to go out, let's do something at home. Let's do, a brunch at the house. I'll bring like, I have my Jack Daniel's t-shirt on right now, because later on, it's still early here. It's 11 in the morning. So I'm having tea, but later on I will throw a splash of Jack in my next cup of tea a little bit later in the afternoon, right? So that's what we may do instead of going out if my entertainment budget is already spent for the month, but we're still going to have a good time. Okay, making these adjustments on payday. The key to budgeting on a regular income is being flexible. Stay completely on top of what you're doing. It may seem tedious, but even on down to your tips, you want to track every single dollar. Because again, if you don't tell that money where to go, I promise you it is going to find a place to go. And then you're going to look up and go, oh my gosh, what happened? I had an extra $50 and now I need to make an extra $50. So one of the ways that you can do this is just adjusting your budget as you get paid. If your income ends up being higher than you planned, make sure that you give yourself that hand, those awkward, high fives that we mentioned earlier, and then add that extra income into the budget. Don't just go, oh, wow, I ended up doing a double today and I made some extra money, and just let it go. You got to make sure that you put that money into your budget as extra income. So if you you thought you were going to make $4,500, but you ended up making $5,000, give yourself the high fives, but track that $500 and put it where it needs to go. And then the time to put that money in, it takes a while, but you want to make sure that, like, if you have a goal that's out there, that you want to put that extra money towards that goal if possible. Say you have a credit card that you're paying down on. I'm really, really huge about you getting your credit in order, as you know. So if you only planned on paying $250 that month and you've got that extra $500, please go ahead and apply that extra $500 to that credit card. It's going to lower your debt ceiling and help you build wealth and help you build your credit. You also may have to go back and cut out those may be able to put those extras back in that you skipped. Say, for example, you did have that Ultra subscription box, or you did have that stuff in your Amazon cart that's waiting that you have saved for later. You may be able to go in and get some of those things and add them to your cart and go ahead and purchase them. But make sure you make that adjustment on your budget so that you know that that extra $500 went towards showing yourself some financial love. Okay, now you've got to make a new budget before the month begins. You don't want to start your January budget in January. You want to start your January budget in December, because then you've already gone through it and you haven't thought about it. You got to make those adjustments along the way, and then you're going to sit down and start over every single month. Remember, we're talking about irregular income here, because this is what most of us see in this industry. If you have a regular income, you don't have to make a new budget changing the numbers every month, but you do have to make sure that you're sticking to your budget. So you're not getting off if you have a regular income. If you're on salary, you still have to have a budget. That doesn't mean that you can just go wild, but we're dealing specifically with irregular budgets because I think that's what a lot of folks are seeing right now with the present economy. So you're going to make that new budget every month, and it makes it more like a progressive dinner or like a complex cocktail or a 5-course meal. It takes time to get there, but it is so worth it, because when you start to see the benefits of having that budget there, and you start to see yourself getting to pay stuff off, you start to see that you're able to see your credit score go up, you're starting to feel better about the finances, especially around the holidays. It is incredibly important, but it's so worth it, okay? So your budget doesn't change that month to month, but it's never going to be 100% the same because there's sales that go on, right? Like I just got this credit card in the mail, and on top of it, stuck to it, they had like, oh, we're having our annual half yearly sale coming up. And of course I'm like, all right, Mia, don't activate it. Just put it over here. Don't worry about it, because that is not in my budget right now. So I have to be honest with myself. I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to think about it. Now, if for some reason I end up making some extra money, I do know what I want from that store. And there is a chance that I may go back and get those things, but it has to be when it's in the budget. Just like if you know when your BFF's birthday is coming up, or like I need to rotate the tires on my car right now, not super exciting, but I have it in my budget because I knew I was going to need to do it before the weather shifted. So those are the types of things, those are the kind of adjustments that you make within the budget that you already have. So I'm budgeting for that in January to do that tire rotation and all those other things that I know I need to do to make sure. Like if you have a car, you know when your car registration is due. Don't let that be a surprise. The sticker actually tells you when it's due. So put that in the budget in advance for that month when you know that you have to pay it. Some people, you know, some of the Reds kind of pay their car insurance as soon as they get the registration in the mail. And if you do that, that's fine, but that needs to be in that month's budget, okay? Because you don't want that to be something that kicks you into the red. Our yellows are probably going to think it's fun to go down there, and they may go down and actually sit at the Department of Motor Vehicles and strike up conversations with people and talk about the numbering system and things like that. Whereas a red, that would drive them bananas. They're like, I am B038. When are you going to call me in? I don't have this kind of time, right? So it's just finding that balance. You know, our blues may decide that they're going to go and they'll ask everybody else in the house, hey, you know, I'm going to DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. Does anybody else need me to pick up your thing? Do you need me to go to the kiosk for you? Do you need me to go to the kiosk for you? Whereas the whites group may say, you know, I'm really working on reducing my carbon footprint and I'm not going to drive this month. I'm going to take public transportation. But if anybody wants to roll with me, here's the schedule that I'm using and here's where I'm going to be going. So you see how those colors really play into all aspects of our finances. You really want to make sure that you know where you are. You want to know about your relationship with money, but staying on task, you want to make sure that you start your budget for the next month beforehand. And then always make sure that you're going ahead of time and not lagging behind, because that's the worst thing when you're trying to play catch up. It never works out. Trust me, I've tried. I've learned from experience. Now, one of the things that I want to do before we go a little bit further in this, think about what your budget, if it had a theme song, what your budget would be right now. If you're comfortable dropping in the chat, please feel free to do that. If not, don't worry about it. I'll just tell you that I went from Bridge Over Troubled Waters was like the theme song for my budget for years, because I was kind of just like trying to bridge to the next paycheck, trying to bridge to the next time I get paid. And there was all these troubled waters and all this stuff down below that I was not dealing with. And so I can also tell you that if I were to think about what my cocktail that described my budget before I got my financial life together, it was a dark and stormy. I'm telling you, it was a dark and stormy for a really long time. And I didn't know how to get over it. And then I started getting some tools in place, making sure that my recipe was dialed in, making sure that I was ready to go. And now I'm kind of like living more of a champagne life, but it wasn't without doing the things that I'm talking to you about right now. It wasn't easy. I didn't get there quickly. I made some mistakes along the way, but you know, and I do enjoy both cocktails still. I still like a dark and stormy, but I like it in my cup and not in my bank account. Is there let's see, I think there's a comment in the chat.
Yeah, we've got All Right, Kendrick Lamar as a budget theme song. I personally feel right now with the holidays and a new baby on the way, like Yakety Sax, the quintessential song that just indicates chaos. sometimes I forget that I've planned things out because I wasn't always good at planning things in advance. And I'm like, where is all this money going? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I knew about this. And so I started working on it. I started saving for this thing in January because I knew that I was going to need it. It's the same every year with my car registration. They send it in the mail. I know it's coming.
Right.
I look at it and I'm like, where am I going to get this money? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a part of our monthly budget, is putting a little bit away so that we have this. But the young, financially irresponsible version of me is instantly goes into full panic of like, how am I going to make this work?
Absolutely. And you're not alone in that, Brittany. I mean, a lot of people do that. When you get stuff in the mail, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to deal with this? And as you continue to practice that budgeting, it becomes easier, because then you'll have that recall, like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm prepared for this. I'm ready for this. But it's more of a marathon than it is a sprint. And a lot of times people become overwhelmed, especially around the holidays, because you're seeing these sales. You go in and they're offering you an instant credit if you sign up for this credit card, but you're not realizing that that card is like 27% interest. So you're going to want to use a cashback card that you already have. And that's a whole nother episode that we can do. But it's just a matter of realizing that those small things, if it is not in your budget, just like if you're doing a shopping list, if it is not on the list, don't get it, because you've already set your grocery list for that month. So you want to go in and do those things. This is not, okay. So for example, when you're out and you're like, okay, we budgeted $600 for holiday shopping for everything that year. But then someone says, well, if you get this, you're going to get $50 off. You still have $600. Don't think you have $7 because they're telling you you're getting $100 off. And that's one of those mistakes, right?
Or like you get someone's gift, like, especially now with as connected as the world is, which is awesome. But sometimes, a lot of times we're mailing gifts, or they're going direct, in the mail from like wherever you bought the thing from to your friend. And then you get the gift and you're like, oh, wow, this is way more expensive than what I was planning to get you. And I think those conversations are really tricky to have, but so important, because like being honest with the people around you about where you are financially, and like, I love you. There's no monetary like attachment to how much I love you, but I also I'm working on this for me. Is not really a fun conversation to have, but definitely helps with the like, well, I don't know, because for my birthday, they got me this like really nice floral arrangement, or they got me this. And you're like, but I still only have this $600 and I have 10 people to buy for.
Absolutely. You know what? And we talked a lot about that too. So our family we have a pretty large size family. We used to buy gifts for everyone. And at one point we were looking at what everyone's goals were. And so this is a good time to start the conversation about what your goals are. You're growing a family, so your goals are going to be set based on your family, right? So you may say, listen, this holiday, we're going to go pretty light, because guess what? We're bringing a whole nother family member in a month, right? So your budget is going to look very different than someone who's an empty nester that has a bunch of money to spend, because we haven't really been traveling for the past couple of years and haven't really been doing things that we did. So those conversations are actually really, really valuable. And if you can do things like pulling names for the holidays, because not everybody needs something. You can get one really valuable gift, and value means value in your heart, not monetary value. But you can get one really valuable gift for one member of the family, and then everybody enjoys something nice, and it cuts down on the pressure of you having to go and buy multiple gifts and things like that. Or if there's a favorite recipe that you make, you can gift that recipe to another family member, or make them their favorite dish, make them their favorite cocktail, give them a cocktail coupon that they can cash in at a certain time. I mean, there's so many ways that we can get creative, and things that don't trigger finance. You guys are all armed with the color code. All the folks here are armed with the color code. So that's your first freebie, right? So you can send that out to all of your family members in advance. Send them a link, and then it's something that you can talk about and compare notes and figure out who's what color. And there are also, I'm telling you, this is a rabbit hole that you can go down. There are gifts that are recommended for each one of the personality types. So that may be something fun to do. You can look at the full list and say, gifts under $25 recommended for the Reds. We are going to like organizational tools. If someone were to get me like a journal, something like this costs $6.99. I would be so excited because I love to write stuff down. That's just my red personality. Now, the yellow side of me, if you get me some really cool pens, I'm going to love that too, because I'm writing and I'm enjoying, right? So there are so many things.
I'm pretty sure at this point, my husband just includes a box of Sharpie S gel pens in every gift he gets me, because he knows that even if I get something else as a part of the gift that I'm like, well, I never really considered owning that, but I appreciate it. He knows I'm going to be like, yes, new pens.
Exactly. And it's the little things. I love those Sharpie, the 0.5 tip.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So, and there are things like, I have a family member that loves to just receive lottery scratchers. You could go spend $10 on $1 scratchers, and that's not going to really trigger a lot of finance. So that keeps you in your budget, and that keeps you in an area where the person is seeing the outpouring of what you want to do, but it's not going to cost you a ton of money to take care of that for them. So yeah, definitely lean into those things, and definitely make sure that you are planning in advance. Take it from the reds. Planning in advance is going to help out a lot. And then our yellow friends will be there to have fun with us when we've been able to see the fruits of all that labor that we've done. You know, the blues are going to be here, making sure that everybody feels good and that everybody's taken care of. And then the whites are going to be there to make sure that the peace is keeping and that everybody is zen while we're in the space. Now, remember that anything worth winning takes work. So if you want to win with money, you're going to have to work at it. This is not easy. And I don't want to make anybody think that this is a one size fits all. I don't want to make anybody think that within 10 minutes, you're going to have this dialed in and you're never going to have to do it again. The first month is going to be your magic month. It's going to take multiple months to get this dialed in. And if you are dealing with an irregular income, keep adjusting it up and down until you hit that sweet spot. Like I said, there are a ton of financial tools, and I am more than happy to share more tools with you. But what I want to share with you right now is something that I love to do, and this is a money manifestation meditation. So what I'm going to invite all of you to do is I'm going to invite you to, if you like to turn your camera off, you can. If you want to leave it on, that's completely fine too. But I'm going to invite you to just do this little money manifestation meditation with us, because this is going to be something that is truly going to help you, and another gift that you can give to your friends and family members over the holidays that is not going to trigger finance. So just sit back and relax. I'm going to play something for you. I actually spilled some water on my keypad, so I know that's going to drive Britany crazy as a red, but I did spill some water on my keypad, so it's making it a little bit difficult for me to navigate to get back to my screen.
That's okay. That's like, we're incorporating meditation. That'll even out the like, oh, I wish I was there to get her towel.
Exactly. I'm home by myself, so of course that's made it a little bit more awkward. But guess what? The magic of touchscreen computers always help. And so we're going to incorporate technology. Go ahead and relax and listen to this while I read this money manifestation to you. So I want you to take a deep breath in and repeat after me. You can do this to yourself. It doesn't have to be aloud. I am a money magnet. I am my biggest asset. I am financially free. I attract everything that I desire tenfold. I have the tools to achieve financial freedom. There is no obstacle that I cannot overcome. I welcome unlimited wealth and abundance into my life. I conquer everything I set my mind to. I release all fears around money. Money flows easily and effortlessly to me. Now keep your eyes closed and just think about which one of these statements or how many of these statements resonate with you personally. I'm going to read them one more time and then we're going to come back. I am a money magnet. I am my biggest asset. I am financially free. I attract everything that I desire tenfold. I have the tools to achieve financial freedom. There is no obstacle that I cannot overcome. I welcome unlimited wealth and abundance into my life. I conquer everything that I set my mind to. I release all fears around money. Money flows easily and effortlessly. Now, as you let that resonate with you, when you are ready, open your eyes. Come on back. Now, that is a money manifestation that I like to share. Like I said, I'm more than happy to make sure that everybody has this information. But what you do with that is you're setting an intention. You're setting an intention for yourself that you really feel like you're a money magnet. You are attracting wealth. And when I say money magnet, and when we talk about wealth, we're talking about financial wealth. We're talking about health being wealth. We're talking about spiritual wealth. We're talking about all of that. That's why you are your biggest asset. And if money is a stumbling block for you, or your relationship with money is a stumbling block for you, it's going to translate into so many other parts of your life. So we really want to make sure that you're equipped with the tools to realize financial freedom, and knowing that you can attract everything that you desire is completely within your power to do so. We want to make sure that we're giving you the tools. If the zero-based budget is something that works for you, this is the best place to start. But if you're looking at or looking for more financial tools, we can certainly help break that down for you as well. But just know that just getting these basics down makes it so that there is no obstacle that you can't overcome as it relates to finance, because it's really and truly just a part of understanding where you are with your budget and being willing to make those adjustments and being comfortable saying, you know what, I would love to be able to go on that trip with you, but right now this is not the time for me to do that. Or even small things like maybe this is not your Uber or Lyft to work season. Maybe this is your public transportation to work season. Or maybe this is the season that you keep the car that you have. And I just did this. I'm going to speak from my own experience. I really wanted a new car. And I saw the prices on used cars right now and how much they're paying for used cars. So I felt justified, like I can actually afford a new car because it's within my budget. But here's what I did instead. I took a little bit less than what it would have cost for me for one car payment. I took my car to the car wash and I paid for a pretty expensive detail. The car looks brand new. I was like so shocked and happy. I mean, my interior is done, the headliners, I mean, they really worked magic for what I would have paid for 1 month. So then I start thinking to myself, okay, if you're really serious about this new car, put that same amount of money that would have been your car payment into savings for 6 months. And if you're fine with that, and once you've done that to get your down payment, then you're ready for your new car. But I know for a fact that I may want to spend that somewhere else, which tells me I'm not ready for that purchase yet. If it's not a necessity, you have to figure that out. So those are some of the tools that you have. And then just going back to making sure that you're welcoming that unlimited wealth, you're welcoming in that abundance into your life, making sure that you're conquering the things that you set your mind to. And then money is scary, credit is scary, finance is scary anytime you're not on the right side of it. So you have to release those fears. You have to face the things that are happening. Open the mail, face what's going on, do the budget, really take the time to do that. Because then when you do that, you unlock the rest of those things and that money really will flow to you easily and effortlessly because you've put that respect out there for it. You know what you need to be able to do to get to the place that you need to get to. And then from there, you're able to continue to add those extras back in and give yourself more of those high fives.
I love that. And I think I loved your story about the detail because since, we found out that we are going to have a baby, my husband's like, well, you're probably going to need the new, like a bigger vehicle because kid and all their stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but my car's paid off this month. He's a yellow. He doesn't have to take this test. I know he's a yellow. He is a yellow. And I was like, okay, when I make the last payment, that means in January, I can just take it and have it detailed and it'll be like driving a brand new car. And he's like, I think you're going to feel differently when you have to get that car seat because it's small and low to the ground. He's like, when you have to get that car seat in and out of it. And I'm like, he can't have that much stuff like until he's, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, like they come into this world with virtually nothing. I think we can make the car work for a while. But Nigel, I did see that you had a question about would this be available later? I know our friends at Tales of the Cocktail repost these to YouTube, so you'll be able to look for it there. But I do highly encourage anyone that's watching, if money is something that is uncomfortable for you, or you're not in the place you want to be with how you're managing your money or your relationship with money. Mia, this is her life's work, and she really approaches money in a sense of a whole person, how fixing or building on this one area of your life can create a lot of growth in other areas of your life. And she's such a big support and cheerleader for so many people in the hospitality industry trying to figure out like, well, I get this many, but everybody wants this many. How do I make it work? So I do encourage you, if you have specific, if you're ready to kind of take the step into some coaching and some help, I think Mia is a great resource. And I know that she's very generous with her time. So.
Absolutely. Listen, this is not something that I figured out on my own without going through trial and tribulation. I've gone through, and for those of you that don't know my story, I'll just give you a little bit of background. I did this because a long time ago, I was very reckless with my money. I was very reckless with my finances, ended up with a wage garnishment and a tax lien. So you've heard me say the IRS, THEIRS, it spells theirs. And that's how they feel about your money. And I'm telling you right now, those are not the folks that you want to get into it with. And so I made a promise to myself, God, universe, everyone, that if I was just able to get out of this, I promised that I would dedicate my time to helping other people get to the other side of this. I have a special place in my heart for the hospitality industry because I've been fortunate enough to be a part of it. And so I figured out that we live things a little bit different than folks that may have a standard 9 to 5, because there have been times where I needed to pay a bill. I picked up a shift to pay the bill, and then I went to a shift bar and spent the money that I picked up. So then I had to pick up another shift. That may or may not sound familiar to folks.
Yep. Been there.
So that's exactly. So, that's why we do this. This is real life. These are the things that folks need. And as Britany shared, I am dedicated to getting to the root cause of why you have the relationship that you have with money. I love to, play with rocks and crystals. As Josh always says, I've got my rocks and my crystals on right now. Right. And so that's my grounding. That's my holistic piece of this. But this, whether you're into that or not, this is all going to work with you. If you come to one of my classes, I'm going to hand you a piece of citrine because that's my money stone and I keep those with me. But if you just want to talk and you're not interested in the rocks and stars and things like that, we can certainly just talk about money and finance. But you've got to get to the root cause of why you have that relationship with money, and then just start using the tools and build yourself from that dark and stormy to the champagne life. Both great cocktails, but if you're using one to describe how you're living, you're going to want to have the champagne life.
Absolutely. That's I'm trying to be more on the champagne life side of things. And I didn't see any additional specific budget related questions in the chat, but by being here today, because I know sometimes it takes, I know for classes that happen over on the Lush Life channel, sometimes it takes us a couple days to get everything converted and processed and re-uploaded to Facebook or to YouTube or wherever it lives. You're getting the chance to have a head start, on 2023. It is a super busy season, and it is kind of difficult to carve out time to kind of start a new journey right now. But no time to set yourself up for successful 2023 like the present. And once this is posted over on the Tales of the Cocktail YouTube page, a lot of your friends are probably going to wait until January to start thinking about this. So you'll be like, oh, great, take this color test and then go watch this video and we can talk about what we learned. And then you'll have some new accountability partners.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because there are balances. And as we dig deeper into this, the red and like you said, you and your husband are opposites. He's a yellow. You already know that. You're complete opposites, whereas the blues and whites are complete opposites. And there are people that straddle both of them. So just getting to know those details is going to be super fun. And it helps you figure out why he says you need a new car and you're like, let's detail this one. And at least for a while, we can fit all of his stuff in here. I'm going to be interested to see how that works out.
Well, it's great too no matter whether it's in a personal relationship, professional relationship, to find people to work with, whether you're working on your budgeting or you're working on something else that are the opposite of you, because he does remind me to it's okay for us to go have fun sometimes, because I'm like, yes. No, never spend any money, only make money, never spend money. And he's like, it's fine. We can go out and eat. So right. Thank God for him. He keeps me fine. Because if not, I would probably never leave. I do really like our house, but still not an excuse to never leave it. So thanks, Jesse, if you're listening in the other room.
Absolutely. Shout out to Jesse. Yes, you've got to have that balance.
Absolutely. Well, everyone who joined us today, thank you so much for watching. And you can find, Mia has all of her contact information here. You can also find Mia over on Instagram. You're at Real Freedom with Love over there too, right? Perfect. And maybe today is not the day that you want to get really serious about budgeting, but maybe it's a week from now, or maybe it's 2 months from now. Please contact Mia, because she will help you and treat you real good while you do it. To all of you, have a wonderful holiday season. To Tales, thank you so much for letting Lush Life be a part of this series of Full Hands In, Full Hands Out. And to our friends at Brown Forman, thank you so much for launching the Pause campaign. Everybody remember during this crazy time of year to take whatever kind of pause it is that is going to be most beneficial to you. And we will see everyone in 2023.
Absolutely. Thank you.